Monday. Hey everyone, it's Ash and welcome to my horse riding update vlog from week 8, I'm pretty sure, starting week 8. Anyway, so if you've watched my last 2 videos, you would have seen that I got a little distracted on my birthday weekend, forgot to film at all. So I've had to film 3 videos today so that I can get them done. I started to film my riding vlog update separate 2 weeks ago. Well, actually, intentionally, I only did it this week, but this is technically the 3rd riding update. So hopefully you guys are liking the fact that they're separate. If anyone's actually watching. But yeah, so this week's riding lesson, it wasn't hot, but it wasn't cold. It was sort of in between. It wasn't actually warm either, it was sort of cool, which was good. Like it was pretty much perfect riding temperature, because you don't overheat too much. It was a little spattering of rain though. So I had Tarantino again, and we had Mr. K as our instructor, and we started in the arena, just going around in a walk to begin with. I was the last horse into the arena, so I was at the end, but then 2 had gone large, and then we got told to only go small, so half the arena. So we were just sort of walking along, and then Caitlin, who was in front of me, her horse Boy, sort of just decided that he didn't want to go. I think we think he was trying to go to the toilet, trying to wee, and he just couldn't go. So I overtook it. So I was in front for ages, and then when we started to do the trot work, we were going okay, but then every couple of corners, Tarantino would just stop. And because Michelle had taken him out for a cross-country lesson beforehand, she had told me not to use the crop straight away, that I was only to get it if he was really playing up and wouldn't do what I asked. So we were trying for as long as possible to get him moving, just with me kicking him, and I wasn't just lightly tapping him, like I was really working hard. My legs were burning because I was trying to urge him on so much and he just wasn't doing it. And I'd get him going, and then he'd get to a corner and be like, no, I'm done, and he'd just stop. And it was getting so frustrating because I kept having to tell people to go around me, and I was getting frustrated because I was like, I know he can do this, I know he can pay attention to me, don't understand why he's doing this. And at one stage Mr. K was like, no, I've been told I'm not allowed to give you a whip yet, so you can't have it yet. And it wasn't until he literally was just like, he wouldn't go back into a trot, that Mr. K was like, okay, well, you can have the crop. And literally straight away, like I didn't even have it in my hand and he was starting to go. So I had to pull him back to get the crop off of Mr. K, and then straight away, like I didn't even need to use it, he just knew I had it. And I was kicking him exactly the same as I was kicking him before, and off he goes. And he was really forward moving, which was really good. But it's frustrating that it takes me getting a crop, even if I'm not using it, it's frustrating that it takes me getting it, for him to actually pay attention to my legs. And I was getting really upset, and I need to work on not getting upset about it, but it just makes me feel like shit because I'm trying so hard and I really want to improve. Like I really want to do this, I really want to keep doing this, I really want to improve on my riding. And unfortunately at the moment I can't afford a 2nd lesson a week. I'm struggling really badly financially at the moment. So I'm only able to do this Saturday lesson. And the fact that, you know, I spent 15 minutes trying to get him to pay attention to me before I finally get a crop, and I'm not even using it and he's paying attention to me. Like it was really frustrating and really hard to do because like I know he can pay attention to me, he just won't. But anyway, so we went around for a bit in the trot, and that was really good. We were, you know, I wasn't even using the crop, I was just kicking him on with my legs, which the stirrups were down. I probably could have done with putting them a bit lower, But it sort of felt like a bit more of a comfortable length for me. Like, it was still long. Don't get me wrong, they weren't as short as they normally are. They used to be. But I wasn't losing them as much, so I don't know if maybe that's because I'm getting used to it or if I didn't have them as low. But anyway, we had done the trot a few times, and then we were going to canter up the hill. So Mr. K changed the order and put Maddie in front, then Laura was in front of me, I was behind Laura, and then Caitlin was behind me because she was on the smaller horse. So we're going up this hill, cantering, and Maddie's fine, she's out in front. Ted's in the middle, pinning his ears at me, and just doing the slowest canter he could possibly do. Tarantino and I were trying to overtake, and I could just see Ted's head turning every few seconds, and his leg would lift higher than it was before. And I was like, okay. A few weeks ago, we were doing that same canter, but Ted had a different rider, and he full on kicked out at us, and I went into the fence with my foot. I managed to keep Tarantino on the track, like on the path, so he didn't hit the fence, but I did, and I knew it was going to happen again. And we were cantering up this hill, and I called out to Laura and said, kick him on, he can go faster. And she just, I don't know if she didn't or she couldn't or whatever, but he just didn't go any faster. And at the same time, Caitlin's coming up alongside me, so I'm trying to keep away from him. I'm trying to overtake Ted, and Ted just kept lifting his hind quarter and lifting his leg to come at me. And I was like, for frick's sake, like, I'm trying to keep him in a canter, but I'm having to pull him back so that he doesn't go fast, so that we don't get kicked. It was just really frustrating because it was the first canter, and he stayed in a canter the whole time. He wanted to canter, and I had to keep pulling him down. Like, still in a canter, but a slower canter, so that he didn't try and overtake Ted. And when we got to the top, I was like, you need to pull over. If you can see someone coming up beside you that's going faster, you need to pull over so that we can come past, because you had two of us, and Ted was trying to kick out at me. Even when I wasn't trying to overtake, he was still trying to kick out at us. So it was just really frustrating. So we switched the order up, and I went second, and Ted went last, I'm pretty sure. So we walked back down, and then trotted up the little hill to Mr. K, and he said we needed to do it again. We were using crops too much and feet too much. We needed to try and urge on with our bodies a bit more, which was fine. So we went up again. This time was a lot better. I tried to focus a bit more on using my body rather than my crop. I don't actually think I think I only used it like right near the top when he gets to this spot where he always slows down before we're actually finished. So I only used it then to keep him going, but I was trying really hard to use my heels, to use my body, to push him forwards and stuff. So, and Mr. Kate said it was better. And then we get back, we trot up the small hill, and he says we're gonna trot around the big shed, the hay shed, which is fine. We start trotting towards it, and then Maddie's horse just decides, no, I'm not going. And he sort of started like careening to the side. So she pulled him up and said we just needed to overtake. So Tarantino and I took the lead. And normally, like, he might shy at something, but he'll not refuse to go past it. Because we were in the trot, he was trying to refuse. He kept trotting, but he was trying to turn. I managed to get him to go behind the shed, but he did sort of keep like veering away from stuff. I guess there was some newer stuff there that he hadn't seen. So he was just sort of like very, ooh, what's that? Even though it was literally just like a pallet. Nothing that he hasn't seen before. It was just something in a different spot. So we did that trot, and then we came back around, and then Mr. K said we were going to go down to the smaller arena. We're going to do a lap in trot, and then a lap in canter, and then come back up. And I was still in the lead, so we're walking down, we get to the arena and we start the trot, and I was like, oh, this is good, like he's actually listening to me. I got him to trot, no whip, just legs. Great. So we're going along, And then when it's time to start the canter lap, I'm like, right, this is where the fun's gonna start, because I can never get him to canter unless there's someone in front of me, normally. He cantered straight away. As soon as I sat and squeezed, he went, and I was like, oh, cool. And this arena, the last time we cantered in this little arena, because it's very round, he'd get to like this corner and be here, and he'd be like, straight, ooh, cut, straight, ooh, cut. So the circle was like a quarter of the size it was meant to be. I actually managed to keep him out the entire time. Like, it was such a good canter. It was a nice smooth canter. It was, you know, nice pace, and he stayed out whenever he started to veer in, and I managed to get him out and keep him out. And that sort of made me feel like, okay, he's not just doing it because he knows it's what he's meant to do. He's actually doing it because I'm telling him to do it. And I was so happy. We got to once we finished that lap, I pulled down into a trot, called him a good boy, patted him, and then we trotted back up to Mr. K. We did another lap of the shed and then pulled to a stop. And then the fun started. We were going into one of the paddocks to do a little bit of, not real cross country, like we didn't need to raise the stirrups or anything. We were just like going down a hill, trotting across a bank, trotting across a pathway, up to a tree, back, trotting, and then trotting back. And then we were meant to canter up the hill. Well, we made it down the first hill, trotted across, and then trotted across the pathway, which is like a dam on one side and then a like steep drop on the other. So we trotted along that, then trotted up to the tree that we're meant to trot around, come down the hill, we trotted across the bank, and then I'm getting to the path and I could hear Boy behind me, so Caitlin's horse, very close, and I'm like, okay. So Tarantino and I pull out wide and go onto the path, and I'm trotting along, and the next thing I hear gravel like skidding and then a cry. And I was like, oh my God, what's happened? And I pull Tarantino to a stop, turn my head, sorry, and Caitlin is on the ground and a boy is just calmly coming towards me. And I was like, oh my God. And of course by that point I was a fair distance away. I hadn't seen what happened, I just heard her fall. And at that point, no one could tell me what had happened. They just wanted me to get Mr. K. Mr. K's had an accident. He cannot walk down that hill. Luckily, Caitlin's dad was there. He comes charging down the hill, thinking, like, we weren't even sure who it was. Mr. K wasn't sure who it was. He thought it was Laura because she'd gotten off straight away because she was following. So she saw it happen. She got off straight away. I'm sitting there at the front, like quite a fair distance away, with Boy standing next to me. So I pulled him closer, grabbed his reins, and I'm just standing there. I'm like, I can't turn both of them around. What do I do? And Caitlin's dad just comes down. I was like, I think she's shocked. I don't think she's injured. I think she's fine. She was sitting up. She was just hyperventilating a little bit. I think she just scared herself more than anything. And it would have hurt. Like, she hit that ground pretty hard. Like, the thump was pretty loud. But yeah, so she got up, she was walking, that was fine. Laura got back on Ted, and we started walking back up the hill. And I was talking to Mr. K, and he was like, oh, you guys were going too fast. I was like, well, no, I was trotting. Tarantino was only trotting. He wasn't trying to canter. He was just trotting. Boy was trying to canter the whole way. When I asked Caitlin what happened, she said he got to the bank and just bolted. And as he came around the corner, there was a dip, and he went down into it and threw his head down, and she went with him. So she was okay. I think she was more a little just shocked that it had happened and a little upset that it had happened. It wasn't, I don't think she was injured or anything. She was moving fine. She got back on, which was really good. And then we had to do another canter to make sure that she was okay. So Mr. K said to canter up the hill, because it's not like it's overly safe, but it's the canter we do every lesson pretty much. So we're all used to it. It's nothing scary. It's nothing new. So we went and did that canter, and I just, the whole time I kept looking behind me because Caitlin was directly behind me, and she was following, she was fine, and I was like, oh, thank God. But me being in the lead managed to get Tarantino to canter up the hill on my own. If we're first, it's a struggle to get him from trot to canter. So I was actually really proud that we managed to get the full canter from when I asked for it, not just when he felt like it. And we cantered the whole way to the top, turned around and I checked that everyone was okay. Then we walked back down, and then we basically just cooled down and like did some slow walking around the school and stuff just to cool the horses down and cool ourselves down, I guess. But it was actually like, it ended up being good. It ended up that there was progress. I'm able to get him into a canter when I'm in the lead now, or I can at the moment. I'm trying a lot more to focus on legs first before using the crop. Sometimes, like, by the end of the lesson, excuse me, by the end of the lesson, sometimes I'm a bit like, oh, I've got the crop, I'm just gonna use it. Like, it's the first instinct. I don't mean to. I'm not intentionally going, oh, I've got my crop, I'm not going to use my legs. I'll use my legs and my crop at the same time instead of just using my legs first. So that's something that I'm going to get used to with more experience. Like, it's not like I use a crop on every horse. I don't use one on Sprite. I don't use one on Toledo. I just use them on Ted and Tarantino. And Ted, like, his belly it's a reminder that I've got it. Tarantino now, it's a reminder that I've got it. It's not because I don't have the leg strength. He literally is just a poo head. But yeah, so it was a pretty good lesson. And I mean, I had this awesome shirt. I bought it last week, and then I decided that it was too hot to actually wear it for last week's lesson. So I wore it for the first time today, and Mr. K was like, are you wearing new jumpers? It's like, no, I've had these for 4 months now. I'm wearing a new shirt. And he's like, oh, I knew something was new. So kind of good to know he notices, I guess. I know. But anyway, I will pop off now because that's 17 minutes of me talking. So yeah, I will catch you all in either next week's riding vlog or this week's weight loss vlog. Catch you soon, guys. Bye.